Alright, YouTube, we are back to show you the next step in this, which is adhering the glass into the LCD. We're using this orange mold I have here. I prefer using the mold and doing it in the frame. I went ahead and taped down the ribbon cable off the back here, something that I do with the molds quite often. Seems that doing that helps keep them down. I'll be using some 90% isopropylene alcohol to help clean this, and I've cleaned it a little bit already. And even though I've cleaned it, you don't have to necessarily worry about the streaks as long as all the LOCA glue and any dust particles are off of it. Go ahead and insert my LCD in here and make sure it's nice and snug. And I'll be using microfiber cloths to clean this, so put some alcohol on my cloth here. And we'll go ahead and I like to use nice long strokes. Kind of scrub it a little bit and then pull all the way from the top down to the bottom, making sure that I get all of the smudges off from the fingerprints and anything of that nature. Like I was saying, the isopropylene will leave streaks on the LCD, but when you put the optical clear adhesive, you can't even see the streaks underneath it, so it gives it that always kind of wet look, which you don't get if you don't use the LOCA glue. I'll be using this, which is the glue that I'll be using to adhere the glass to the frame. What you also want to do is make sure that the glass that you're using is nice and clean as well. You can use the same isopropylene alcohol to clean the glass. It's okay if it has streaks as well, as the glue itself will give it that always wet look, which is nice. I'm going to go ahead and just peel off the protective plastic off the back of it here so we can get started with gluing it down inside of the mid frame, or inside of the mold. Peel it back, making sure that there's no dust on the LCD. I like to use a baby nose sucker. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They use them to suck boogers out. They almost look like a little bellow. You can use that to help remove dust. Unfortunately, I've lost mine. I think my wife actually took it for a baby. Here's the UV light that I'll be using. It's the same. It's just a salon gel nail dryer that I got off of like Amazon or eBay or somewhere for like 20 bucks. It works pretty good. You don't have to have the industrial strength ones. And that'll help us cure the glue. So we're going to go ahead and put the glue on here. I always struggle getting the glue to stick all the way into the corners, and since we're using this on a Note 2, we're going to put it out in the middle as well. We're going to put it in almost like a really long X with arms. Alright, so just like so. So you can see that it's going to go into the corners. Let's remove a little piece of dust here. It's going to go into the corners and into the middle. Now I like to roll it around just a little bit and make sure it gets nice and flat. Now, it's not extremely forgiving, this LOCA glue, and usually when I'm doing one of these, I'll have to do it probably twice. So I'll try to see if I can do it just once for this video, but rather than gluing it down with bubbles underneath, I will actually pull the glass back off, clean the LCD again, clean the glass again, and make sure there's no bubbles underneath it. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, you can actually put the glass on, pull it back off, and pop any bubbles with like a dental pick or a pin, and then put it back down and it will be fine. You won't see those bubbles, which is something that I might try to do with this one. We'll see how it kind of pans out. One of the goals of this is to have a really steady hand. We're going to apply it one side and then the next side. So like tilting it upwards like I'm doing here. And then we're going to gently drop it onto the glue. And the reason why we're doing this is that this is the process that will make sure you don't get bubbles in the glue underneath. So I like to use a dental pick to hold this side as we drop it. It seems like I have a steadier hand this way. So we're going to make contact up here at the top first. It always seems that this is where those bubbles occur for me. So if you go slow and it leans onto it, no air will be trapped. You can see that it's made contact. We're right about almost halfway through. And it's making contact down into the arm area right now. Once you get to about this point, it wants to almost fall, but you don't want to let it fall. You want to let it kind of move its way down on its own. You don't want it to attach at the bottom before it attaches at the middle. And that will create air bubbles. And it looks like, unfortunately, I was a little too quick and it caught. So I'm just going to try to pull it up here and try again. And see, I can see there's an air bubble right in here. So I'm going to pull it up just a little bit, stick my dental pick in, and try to pop that bubble. And pull it off here for a second, just double check. If you're going to pull it off, if you let it seep back down to being flat before the ridges will go away and the glue's kind of stiff. You want to let the ridges go away, and then you can try to re-adhere it back on. And sometimes you can get away with not having bubbles. Normally at this point, where I've pulled it off, I've already had bubbles. Usually what you have to do is clean the glue off and start again. I find that to be the most successful way. Sometimes I've had success of doing it like I'm doing right now, where I will just let pop another bubble here. I can let the glue back down and re-adhere itself the same exact way. You can see there's no bubbles up here at the top. And we're just going to let it gently slide back down. I have some bubbles here again. And sometimes, rather than popping these bubbles with a dental pick or pulling them out with a pair of tweezers, it's almost easier just to wipe all the glue off, clean it with 90% isopropylene alcohol, and then lay it back down again. It does take some time to get the ability to do this. It is a tricky process to a degree. I'm going to re-adhere it nice and slow. You can see that it's going back down. There's still no bubbles here. It's looking good. All right. Now, a lot of people will say, don't apply pressure. But I disagree with that. I want to apply just a little bit here in the middle. And I really want the connection between the glass and the LCD to be very thin. I don't want to have a ton of glue in between it. So I'll actually press down and have as much LOCA glue kind of seep out of here as possible. I feel like that's a lot easier to reassemble the phone if the actual adhesion between the glass and the LCD is nice and thin. Also, it can be a little tricky if you don't use an excessive amount of glue in putting this down. It'll almost look like you used too little, and you have to really kind of give it pressure to get the glue to get to the edges. So what I'm doing right here at the bottom is I'm rubbing my finger down and getting the glue to go into the edges. And that is kind of the trickiest part. Even though we did it in that X shape, getting the glue to flow into the correct spots can be a little bit tricky. If you press down and move your finger towards the area you want the glue to go, it will follow to a degree. which is why I like using the mold, as the glue will seep out of the sides, and I don't want to have this inside of my phone. All right, looks like we're making progress. We have a little bit here in the corners. We just want to make sure you see that it's kind of unseeping from the top as I take my hand off with the pressure, and that's okay. If you're going to use the method that I use, I want it to be as thin as possible. See, I'm pushing my finger up to make sure that all of the glue seeps all the way to all the corners. Alright, so the next step is, since we have it, it looks good, there's glue in all of the corners, is we are going to take the UV light and we're going to put it underneath here. Now, you can see the glue has come onto the mold, and this is the tricky part with having a mold, is as you adhere this in here, it will cure the glue. Your LCD will get stuck to the mold. So if you have a hard time getting the local glue to stay in the corners, you can just hold it down, put it under the UV light for a few seconds, and this actually cures pretty quick. It's not a very long process. I'm just going to flip the corners here, and we'll do the bottom, like so. You want to move your fingers around just a little bit while it's in there, as if there's any shadow where the light is not getting to, the glue will not cure. Alright, looking pretty good. Just checking the corner, make sure that it all stayed in there. I'm kind of a perfectionist about this part because it's something that I would look at all day long, and this is actually for a customer of mine, and I want to make sure that it looks as good as possible. Alright, now before I cure it in there for a long time, I want to try to go ahead and remove it. I'm trying to pull it out here real quick. I'm trying to press it from the mold, and it does not want to come out. So what you can do at this point is use a little bit of heat from a heat gun to help remove it. You don't want to use a ton of heat as you just glued this down, but you can around the edges just to soften the glue up to a degree. Possibly use a razor blade to cut the glue away, something that I've done in the past as well. Okay, so normally if you can start to get a little bit of the glue to come out, you can go ahead and just pry it off. So I'm just going to try to pull the glue up here just a little bit, flip it over, I'm going to push on the back. Now you don't want to use a lot of force. You don't want to bend the LCD at all. And the mold can be a little bit tricky in this method here. Got a little bit of a portion to flex here. I'm just going to use a little bit more heat here around the edges and the sides of it. Like I was saying, we don't want to heat it up to 180 degrees like it was when we removed the glass. We don't want the glass to come off, but we want it to come out of this mold, which sometimes can be tricky. Here we go. A little bit of heat worked well for us. Just going to go ahead and try to pull the glue. Alright, there we go. Now when you pull the LCD out, sometimes you'll have excess glue around the sides. You want to make sure you wipe all of that off. You want to wipe all the glue off from all around the bezel of the phone here. You can see that there's where it's shiny, that's where the glue is seeped out. You want to go ahead and wipe all of that away. You don't want to cure, as you won't get a nice flush. So we'll just go ahead and wipe and use some isopropylene alcohol here to help clean this off. Now if you do get some on the front of the screen and it dries on there, you can pull it up. It's not the end of the world, but when it's like this, it's really thin, it's on the bezel. When you try to put this back into the mid frame of the phone, if you've let this glue cure on here, you're really not going to get it back on there. You're going to have to use a hot plate and cut the LCD back off, and it's not worth the time. So take your time at this point and clean your LOCA glue off from the bezel all the way on. Take your time, make sure that no more is seeping out. Just going to clean up here at the top. It seems like there's always a ton of LOCA glue that hides underneath this cable, and it seeps back out whenever I try to re-glue this thing back down to the mid-frame. So be diligent up here at the top, all the way around the bottom. Just using a microfiber cleaning cloth to do so. Cleaning the front of the glass here just real fast. Double check to make sure there's no flaws underneath the glue. All right. Looks good. Now, what I'd normally do before I go through and test this even further, I'm just cleaning up the glue underneath, is I would go ahead and put it under the UV light for another 3 or 4 minutes. But I don't want to make the video that much longer, so I'm going to just show you and test it and show you that it's actually functioning, so I'll remove this. But normally what I would do is I'd put this underneath the UV light after I removed it from the mold, after I've cleaned all of the LOCA glue off from the bezel or the edges of the phone where it's going to connect back to the frame. I'd then put it back under the UV light for another 3 or 4 minutes. Really make sure that I get a nice good seal on the LOCA glue. That it can take a little bit of punishment as we put it back together. So we'll just double check and make sure that everything's still functioning for us. We're going to hook our battery back up to the logic board and power it on. You can see that it's already starting to power on for us. We're just going to double check once the screen turns that white Verizon screen. We can kind of check the edges, make sure that it looks consistent all the way around. All right, we are looking good. The screen looks nice and consistent. The digitizer is still functioning properly for us. And that is how you can use LOCA glue and really get that brand new look back into your phone. Going from a shattered screen to this is really just an amazing process. And LOCA glue saves us so much money. The glass for is like $15. Some of your time compared to $140 really save yourself some money and put some money back in your pocket. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. To watch the reassembly of this phone, go ahead and click the link below. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll see you on my next video.